Break out the carrot sticks and natural yogurt, no artificial hormones added. It's time for the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Dr. Lewis and Janet have a long history of helping people achieve their maximum potential. While Janet is a certified natural health consultant with a unique perspective of alternative and complementary nutrition, Dr. Lewis stays current on the latest research pertaining to nutritional supplements and optimum health. Paramount to their educational journey was their trip to China while studying Chinese medical doctors. Dr. Lewis and Janet know the importance of proper nutrition in the healing process and maintenance of the human body. Get ready to gain a healthy perspective on life. This is the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I am Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis grabbing the microphone, so
as usual.
Last minute.
And we are Doctor's Nutrition of Texas, where we help you with your nutritional solutions for your common health issues. We have a very exciting show for you today. It is on adrenals and chronic fatigue syndrome.
But if you're too tired to listen to this, you probably have it.
And that's why it's on a podcast, so you can listen at another time of day whenever you do have the energy, which a lot of people tell us they don't have energy.
After 14 cups of coffee.
Right. Anyway, Dr. Lewis seems to be ready to talk, so I'm going to go ahead and let him have the mic because he does not have chronic fatigue syndrome. And I guess he don't have an adrenal problem either. So he's going to teach us about how to feel and look as good as him. So take it.
You know, geez, good thing this is audio, not video. Looks are in the eye of the beholder.
I'm beholden. It's good.
Well, it takes a lot for me to have energy, and there's a couple of things that I take that Janet can tell when I miss it that day. So we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue, but we're going to talk about, you know, it has this axis with the thyroid. If you have chronic adrenal fatigue, it can affect your thyroid, or if you have hypothyroidism, it can definitely cause adrenal problems later. And generally, people have a little bit of both. It doesn't usually happen overnight, and, you know, Janet's given this to me, but she's got a long list of things that cause all this. But, you know, I'm going to throw some research in about why fatigue happens. And I just talked to a lady in California, and she said, well, her neutrophils were this and her lymphocytes were this. And I said, oh, well, no wonder. You know, she has an autoimmune disease. And I said, usually if the neutrophils are real low and the lymphocytes are real high, that's a chronic virus. She said, oh, is that mono that's left over from when I was a kid? I said, yeah, probably so. It's usually mono or Epstein-Barr or something like that. So if you have a long-term challenge to your immune system, what we call stress, that can cause adrenal fatigue. And stress can take many, many forms. I've seen people, their stress was self-induced just by the way they thought about things. I've seen people that had stress of a spouse that was negative and belittling rather than uplifting and supportive. Chemical stress, there's a major, massive amount of that going on. And Janet and I just did a podcast on this with somebody else. Do you remember the name of that?
Not off the top of my head. We do so many. Okay,
and well, I'm going to talk about loss of memory, but see, I forgot, and she didn't bail me out. Well, first of all, before we get into that too much, I would like to tell you people how much we appreciate you. It's an honor and a privilege that you trust us with your health. I had a very nice talk with John in, I think it's Catawba, North Carolina. He's so very sweet. Then there's Joe up in Ypsilanti that's always very uplifting. And then this morning I had an email from Alan up in Maine with a picture of the snow. And
yeah, we don't want that in Texas. Never mind. Y'all can keep all that.
I said I did, but Alan might have changed my mind. And there are many people like these three that actually they do a lot to uplift me. And I love it. And I know I'm leaving out dozens and dozens of people, but just know that you're definitely appreciated and for what you do for us. And it means a lot, and that helps keep our stress down because thank God we're so busy, we're stressed. It's better than being stressed of not being busy. So there are many, many people out there that need help, and we're very glad to give it to people. We hear miracle stories every day. We get calls and emails and people that drop by, even from out of state when they're in this area. And so we kind of get the pat on the back. So we'd definitely like to give you the pat on the back. And let's try to reduce our stress, whether that's just thinking about things differently, having the faith that it's going to work out okay, and it will. So you can break that cycle mentally, physically, chemically, spiritually, or nutritionally. We're going to really get into the nutritional aspect of it.
So, I guess the main thing that we hear are people saying they're just dragging and need like tons of caffeine to keep going because they just can't seem to cope with the morning, or they don't want to go to bed at night. You know, they go to bed really late, can't get up in the morning. That's actually, we like to dig into different things about, well, what part of that? Do you really go to bed that late? Because if you really go to bed late, that's usually a cortisol issue, which is adrenals. And it's usually overactive, which we usually give something called cortisol soothe to help get that down. But we like to see lab work and not just guess at that, because we want to make sure that's what's happening. But many times when people say they can't sleep, that's what we give. And the other thing I give them, because a lot of people are tired all day because they're not sleeping all night, is the Doctor's Nutrition Better Rest formula. They called it DN for Doctor's Nutrition Better Rest, and that will put you under, and you will sleep. And
daily stress is a very popular one.
Yeah, it's so we try to get people to go to bed at a decent hour and then get their 8-hour sleep, and that helps with chronic fatigue syndrome a lot. But if you're sleeping and all you want to do is sleep, then that's a different side of the spectrum. That's actually needing some adrenal, which we have different supplements that build the adrenals. Like I said, wanting so much coffee to keep you awake. And you know, then Dr. Lewis will talk to you about, well, maybe it's gut health too. So that's very much related in chronic fatigue.
Well, the adrenal glands are little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. They're a very important part of your endocrinology, you know, the endocrine system. But they're responsible for about 50 different hormones, and we're just going to talk about a few. The glucocorticoids are very important. You don't hear much about them generally, but that includes cortisol, which it helps you to convert your food into energy, helps deal with blood sugar, and that's a big issue in many people that can't sleep at night. It helps you respond to stress. And again, that stress can be self-induced. It can be chemical. We talked a lot about chemicals on that other podcast, and I may get into the research on that in a few minutes. But it helps maintain your immune system's inflammatory response so it doesn't get overly stimulated and create an autoimmune disease. And we see autoimmune diseases more and more and more. And part of that, Janet said gut. It's like, yeah, well, if you're consuming wheat, it's full of gluten, and it's got 4 times more gluten than it used to, up to 40 times more gluten. Some people are more sensitive than others, and some people have to totally stay away from it. And that messes with your GI tract in big, big ways. And that creates stress, and that decreases the amount of nutrients that you can absorb. Sometimes, though, you'll hear doctors say, well, it's just a sign of age because these hormones are going down in number because of your age. And I would like to respectfully disagree with that. It's not really age. It's just because you've had an extra decade or two of accumulating toxins that your body does not have enough nutrients to detoxify. One of the other things is when you feel bad, when you start a good nutritional program, and you will feel bad because that's a test of faith and courage, you know, get somebody that will encourage you, and that's really best if you have your spouse on board too. But that's what Janet and I do a lot of, is the cheerleading and patting them on the back, because it takes a lot of courage to continue to do it, even when you feel bad. Just because you take nutrients does not mean you won't have good days and bad days. You'll just get more good days.
And for those of you that are new listening to our podcast and you hear Dr. Lewis say that's what Janet and I do, if you don't know what we do, basically we run low-cost lab work across the United States so that we're not guessing about what you need for nutritional health. And when we're talking about adrenals, that's one of the tests that is on there is a cortisol test, because it can be high or low. And if you just go out and grab something, that may not be best for you, like it was Aunt Mary down the road. So we like to make sure we get what's right for you. And sometimes thyroid can be related to it as well. So, seeing the blood work really helps us. And for your benefit, there's actually labs that are close to where you live generally throughout the United States that we can use and send you there. So you don't have to be in Texas where we are to use our services. You can be anywhere in the United States, and we can send you to a lab locally. And then Dr. Lewis actually analyzes all that for free and goes over it and figures out what's best for you. And if you want to get started doing that, our website is acutabovenaturals with an S on the end.com. There is a health survey on there that you can fill out. So if you're at least get a little bit of energy and or get somebody to write it out for you, you could get started feeling better and maybe have the energy. And I think we should discuss a little bit about the symptoms of impaired adrenals, things that people may not realize are an adrenal problem.
If you're irritated at your spouse when you should be supportive, it's like, well, if you're under stress, don't attack your spouse. There's way too many people that don't treat their spouses good. And I like to say this a lot because Janet's always nice to me, so I'm very blessed, and I would hope that you would be too. She's always nice to me.
Irritability is a big one, though. People don't realize that. They just think they're grouchy, and a lot of times they're just so run down, they just can't function and just can't do one more thing. So that is a huge one. Being nervous is actually a sign of adrenal problems. If you're very jumpy and people scare you, and they shouldn't really scare you because...
And sometimes drugs will do that, whether they're medications or illegal drugs too. But those are part of the stressors that could be impairing your adrenal function also.
Blood sugar problems like hypoglycemia can actually be an adrenal problem.
That's because one of the things that the adrenals do is put out mineral corticoids that include one called aldosterone that helps keep your blood pressure and blood volume normal by maintaining the proper balance of some of the different minerals. And then adrenaline, you've heard of adrenaline, the fight or flight when you are scared, that pumps the blood towards your muscles where you can use them to run or fight, and takes it away from your GI tract, so you have impaired digestion if you stay in that fight or flight syndrome.
Poor memory.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that too. One of the things, on lab, if you have a low DHEA, and the parameters get lower as you get older, but don't be fooled by those parameters. It's better if you can maintain the DHEA level of a healthy 30-year-old. Men, I was always taught that 200 was good for a man, and it's like, clinically you have to have around 300 to convert it to testosterone. But folks, don't be fooled. The DHEA is not just a precursor to sex hormones. It also has over 150 different responsibilities for repair mechanisms in the body and in the brain itself. Oh, speaking of brain, one of the things that's not very talked about is pregnenolone. Now, pregnenolone is one of those that you can't really find that much information on, but it was many years ago, I think it was back in the 1940s, it was touted as being the most effective thing you could do for rheumatoid arthritis. And pregnenolone has massive amount of studies about increasing brain function, cognitive function, and memory. And when they give it to certain people, they have much better work performance. That's one of the ones that Janet puts in my little Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the little pouches, and we sell a 30 milligram pregnenolone, and I guess it helps my memory because I know there's several things that helps my cognitive function, and that's just one of them. But when I quit taking those, like I'm on a vacation, after about a week, I don't think as clearly. So pregnenolone I think it's really, really good. And the one that Janet mentioned a while ago, Cortisol Soothe, my cortisol was a 16.5. I didn't think anything of it. You should be about a 10 to a 15. But my blood pressure was about 180 over 120, which is bad, bad, bad. And I couldn't figure it out. And I was taking all the stuff, and it wouldn't go down. And so Janet called a friend of mine, and she said, well, his cortisol is 16.5. And he said, no, he's stressed. And Janet says, he doesn't do stress. He shows up, smiles, thinks God's in control, which he is. But they put me on Cortisol Soothe, and there are a bunch of herbs that help your adrenals adapt to stress. And within 3 weeks, my blood pressure went down to 120 over 80. And I was just stressed. I didn't know it, but it was from some dental work and all the methyl acrylates that go in the bonding agents, which there's research that says the methyl acrylates can actually cause sudden heart attacks. So thank goodness I've got Janet to take good care of me. But the Cortisol Soothe probably saved me from a heart attack or stroke with blood pressure that high. But it was because of adrenal stress and some of the things that caused that. Dental work, surgeries, divorces, deaths in the family. Some people actually exercise too much. Of course, you can never convince them to slow down, but that sometimes they never let their adrenal glands recover.
Osteoporosis can actually be a sign of impaired adrenals.
Yeah, that's the mineral corticoids, the balance of the minerals in the body. But it is something that happens long term. So it's really best to find something that feels good. Your spirit says, "Oh, this is really good. I'm excited about it," and stick with it. And I tell people, you're going to have periods where you have a little doubt, a little fear, a little fight with your faith. Stick with it. I've seen people that have stuck with it, have done a good job, and these three I talked about, Alan in Maine, John in North Carolina, and Joe in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I could just say Michigan, but I like saying Ypsilanti. They stick with it.
And Sonia in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, Kaufman. Yeah, Kaufman. Sonia and her whole family's like, oh, my God, they've sent me dozens of people, so have these other people that I've talked to about.
Moments of confusion are also signs of adrenal impairment. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, in the business, we're very, very, very busy, and we're very grateful, but we sometimes have to take really long weekends to recover. Stress is not always negative. Sometimes it's a positive thing, like, you're getting a kid that's married or getting married. Sometimes the wedding and all the preparations can, cause a little stress there. But chronic inflammation, and you always have to look to the GI tract for that. You have to look at
pooping.
Yeah. Janet, 3 trains going into the tunnel, how many should come out? Yes. And she's famous for that. We actually have people call us. Sometimes I'll answer the phone if everybody else is busy, and they'll say, well, I was having a bowel movement this morning, and I was thinking of Janet. Tell her my trains are running.
Y'all can skip that if you want.
No, that's what you're famous for. We call you the poop doctor.
But that does make a difference. If you're not eliminating well, you will have chronic fatigue.
Yeah, because if you're not eliminating, then you've got the conditions that are right for yeast, fungus, and viruses to grow in your GI tract. And it's a pretty major undertaking to get enough of the good bacteria to colonize in your small intestine and large intestine. And it can be done. You just kind of have to keep after it. The temperature extremes, which is like Texas, we can have, we only have 3 seasons. We have winter, spring, summer, and football here in Texas, but you can have all of those just in the same week, literally.
Well, you talk about having all this adrenal stuff and the digestive problems and being chronically, fatigued. There's just so much that goes into it, so it's really hard for you to guess at what's happening. So the other big part and things that you can do for free is to be drinking water. Water will actually give you energy.
Filtered water.
There's so many people that tell us that they just don't like water, which is a big sign of being sick. And if you'll just start drinking half of your body weight in ounces of water, that will do amazing things for you, especially before you have that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
The water will actually help you not want so much coffee because it actually starts cleansing. So, that's something you can do for free. And like Dr. Lewis said, drink the good water, which we call good water, the reverse osmosis, which you've got to read on the bottles. We try not to drink it out of the plastic bottles because of the plastic, but you can't get around everything, but at least do reverse osmosis.
And, you always get extra advice from your friends and from Dr. Google, and that some people will actually tell you don't need to supplement. That has nothing to do. You can get everything you need out of your food, and I'm famous for saying if they think you can get all the nutrients you need out of your food, they're not reading their own research. I want to go over just a little bit of the research. And Journal of Neurology said chronic fatigue syndrome can be helped with vitamin B. Journal of American Dietary Association said minerals. Journal of Rheumatology said 5-HTP, or tryptophan. I take some tryptophan at night. It helps me sleep much deeper. Amino acids, says Journal of Nutritional Medicine. Coenzyme Q10, Journal of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine, and European Journal of Endocrinology. Essential fatty acids, and that would be your good, clean fish oil. There are way different quality in the fish oils, and I know some people learn the hard way, but there's some that comes from places you probably don't want to consume that, and some are much cleaner and stronger in the EPA and DHA. And DHA is the one that helps repair the brain, and the essential fatty acids, mostly the omega-3s, helps you to offset the inflammatory omega-9s.
There's many things that sometimes are just overlooked, like eating a regular meal, because sometimes people have blood sugar problems. They may not even realize they do, or the doctors told them, hey, you're borderline diabetic. But many times when we run their lab, we find out they're full-blown diabetic or really, really close to. It's just not going to happen for you much longer to not be a diabetic. But if you're not eating in the morning, you're not having some protein of some sort, then you have more tendency to be tired. And I can tell you this morning, I have blood sugar problems in my family, and I always take something for my blood sugar. We have something here called GSF. It's a glucose support formula. It will give you energy because it stabilizes your blood sugar. So even though, I did have protein this morning, but still I have that genetically in my family. So I tend to go, oh gosh, I'm getting tired. But the minute I support my blood sugar, it's fine again. So you actually may have blood sugar problems. And then what do a lot of people eat in the morning for breakfast before they leave? Cereal? Coffee, cereal.
Coffee.
Things that are grains that spike the sugar more. So then by, before lunchtime, they're chronically fatigued again.
That's true, and she says protein, and that's very true. I'm a big fan of fat. It has to be good fat, not corn or canola or safflower,
which are
soybean.
Good fats, like
good fats, butter, real butter, walnut oil, grapefruit seed or grape seed extract, pecan oil, walnut oil. We use a lot of pecan just because it's a southern thing and we like the taste.
A good liquid fish oil, which, I give that to Dr. Lewis every morning. I take it every morning. That's a good form of fat.
That's very true, and that goes back to the adrenals. Have a lot to do with helping convert glycogen and glucose, and that goes into liver function. And when you run low on that, you wake up in the middle of the night. So it's your liver, but it's caused by your adrenal glands. So on lab, if you see low DHEA, that's one of the first signs of adrenal fatigue. We can test pregnenolone, although I don't test mine. I just throw it in, and it helps my memory. And Janet talked about diabetic tendencies, genetic in her family. That's very, very true, but she also got some genetic tendencies toward being beautiful and having a beautiful smile and joy too. So genetics can be really, really good.
See, that's why I have no adrenal problem. Because my spouse speaks nice.
Well, I won't go into why I think you're so wonderful, but people
I've lost track of what I'm going to say now. Go ahead. Go ahead with what you're going.
People that have a low sex drive need to have their adrenals checked, and not just because the DHEA that's probably low has it's the precursor to the sex hormones, but there's many other reasons. So
here's another big reason to have your adrenals checked, because of alcohol intolerance.
Oh, God.
So
She's talking about me.
So if you have a problem with not being able to drink much alcohol, get your adrenals right. Doesn't that mean you get your adrenals right, you can drink more? Is that what it's saying?
I never could. I learned when I was 19 that I can't tolerate much alcohol, but and which is a good thing. And we had that genetic testing done, the 23andMe, which was incredibly thorough. I was very impressed for the price we paid. And it said I'm a slow metabolizer of alcohol. It's like, well, geez, I figured that out, 40-something years ago. I never have been able to drink much, nor would I want to, but that's just an excuse. Had somebody hand me several beers the other day when I was cleaning a pig that I shot. I said, no, I can't drink that. They said, you've only had two. I said, I didn't drink the first two, but I didn't tell them.
Is that those estrogen mimicking beers?
Yeah.
Those light beers?
Yeah, they're filtered with some weird stuff that's very estrogen causing. There's a lot of reasons. Just, get tested, moving forward toward better health, because if you don't work toward health, disease is going to sneak up behind you and kick you in the butt. And I think you should always be actively doing something, filling your spirit, filling your mind with good information, filling, your life full of joy and happiness, which takes stress off your adrenals too. How about these people that get lightheaded when they sit up or stand up suddenly? Mm-hmm. Your adrenals can't keep up, so your blood pressure temporarily drops in your brain, and you get lightheaded, and you have to dye your hair blonde so you can be a dizzy blonde. Yes, I've been in trouble for saying it before, so and that means your adrenals are really, really, really tired. Decreased ability to handle stress. When some little something happens and that person flies off the handle, so to speak, you might be a redneck. Or, I'm sorry, have adrenal exhaustion. Trouble waking up in the morning despite a full night's sleep. That would be me. Janet wakes up like a songbird singing and happy. And it takes me a cup of coffee before I'm semi-human and am willing to talk to the dog.
I'm just grateful for another day, and I figure God's given me a reason to be here, and I've got to go help some people, which is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, she does a good job, too. But keep in mind, folks, it can take you 2-3 years to really fix adrenal fatigue or hypothyroidism, because keep in mind that you're getting these toxins out, you're putting in more nutrition so that your body can heal, but the environment's putting the toxins back in. So your net gain is pretty small, but it's about being consistent and moving forward. It makes a big difference.
In the chronic fatigue, I wanted to mention as well that many times people's livers are overloaded, and there's been a rash of them in our office lately that have come in and said, well, I'm sleeping except from 1 to 3 in the morning because for some reason from 1 to 3 I'm just awake. And that's a liver repair issue. Because
they ate too many carbs, that turns to sugar, that turns to triglycerides, that clogs up your liver. And my analogy is that's like you change the oil on your truck 15 times, but you didn't change the oil filter. So your liver's clogged up, your enzymes are going higher.
And that makes you tired all day long because your liver's not right. Or you're taking a whole bunch of ibuprofen, that kind of thing, because you've got headaches and things because your liver's not functioning correctly, which makes you tired.
Yeah, and liver has a lot to do with adrenal function. Janet called our accountant one time, says, well, you can quit your Benadryl at night or quit your scotch. Your liver's really angry. He said, okay, Benadryl's gone. I'm not giving up my scotch. And we give him a bottle of scotch. Says, here, don't do our taxes until you've had several drinks.
So the bottom line is we have probably really confused you with so much information that you don't know why you're tired anymore or if it's an adrenal problem or what it is. So hopefully that's the case. And that's our job, is to figure out what's going on with you and figure out why you don't feel good. And that will take some stress off of you, so it won't stress your adrenals some more, to let us take the load.
Yeah. One of the most stressful things you can do is get on Google and confuse yourself, and they say conflicting things. Once you give up control to someone that you trust, the stress goes away, and you don't have control anyway. So I don't even treat myself. I'm not smart enough to treat myself. So that's really true. Just give up control and then feel peaceful about it.
So the best thing you can do, for those of you that have not already done so, go to our website, and that is acutabovenaturals.com, and fill out our health survey. And Dr. Lewis will personally call you and tell you what your options are of how to get your health back and help you to feel better. And if there's other shows that you are interested in, they are also available on our website as well. We have quite a few on quite a few different topics. But as usual, our time has come to an end here, I hate to say. And we have really enjoyed educating you again, and we have so much more to talk about, which I guess we'll save for a later date. But thank you for listening to our show, and we hope you guys have a very blessed week, and we'll talk to you right here next time on the Doctor's Nutrition Show.